I'd love to talk about Android TV because I've been using it for like 2 weeks now, and mostly it sucks.
It's the most pointful thing ever. I'm just kidding.
Navigation buttons now dim. Okay, I'm not even aware that existed, so it's news to me. Scope directory access. Who cares?
Such a small change.
There are still like 20 feature spotlights in.
Oh my god, this
Basecamp.
feature spotlight isn't actually new.
Which one?
If it asks you if you want to protect your phone with the pattern, pin, or password on boot, that's not new.
Oh no, it's not. And I think we unpublished that, didn't we?
We
that
did.
Was a,
oh,
that
thank
was
God.
A thing that happened. It's unpublished. There was an incident. Apparently, Artem sent many rage faces
to Michael.
Yeah, Michael and apparently Rita. I guess they collaborated on.
Collaborated in being wrong. That's always fun.
I guess yeah, he was very upset about that.
Oh boy. Okay. Multiple devices locales are now supported. Nobody listening to this podcast cares. Android for work, no. Android for work's like the least exciting thing in the universe. Drag and drop text between apps multi-window, that's cool. Mono playback toggle, that's cool. Full important settings, offer granulation, control notification priority. Did we already talk about that last week, or not? Like before last?
I think we talked about the new notification priority stuff, but I mean, you should just
talk about the granularity.
Click
automatic. Nobody cares that it's going to be disabled. Now include a settings link on the app info screen.
I think Liam might want to talk about that.
Okay. Fast scroll through apps and settings.
Huh?
Nope. The download matters. No, nobody cares. Fossil 2. Okay. So Ryan knows about the Fossil watches, the Nixon watch. Does anybody know about the Nixon watch?
I read the post. That was pretty much
that's good. The Android Wear, Michael Kors stuff.
It has a gold flat tire.
That's so exciting.
That's the story.
Yeah, it looks like, okay. There's nothing special about it. I'm going to guess it has an Intel chip, like the Fossil.
Like
I think Liam nailed it. There is something special about it. It has a gold flat tire.
Gold flat tire.
Just any flat tire.
Watcher Bane 2, that's back, so that's good. Galaxy S7 Edge review, okay. All right, then we have the voicemails. First voicemail I'm ditching for reasons already discussed. And
nobody sent us any antiques.
More discussion points. This could. I disagree. Let's get rid of that. I don't like that voicemail very much.
There was a antique that was sent in, but it was one that we already went over on the show. So.
Oh yeah, okay. So we won't do that. Okay, we got 4 emails, so that's good. All right, so I deleted both the voicemails. The antique is old, and it looks like we are ready to start about 5 minutes late. And we also have line note this week, so I need to do that.
Okay.
Whew. All right, let me start recording. Okay, is everybody else ready? Matt, you ready?
I'm ready.
I will do the pre-roll, and then we shall get going. This week's Android Police podcast is brought to you by Linode. If you head over to linode.com/Android Police, you get a free $20 service credit.
Welcome to the Android Police Podcast, your weekly audio source for all things Android. It is Thursday, March 24th, 2016. I'm your host, Matthew Smith.
I'm David Reddick.
I'm Liam Spradlin.
I'm Ryan Whitwam.
And this is episode 200. 200
Yay.
episodes. And we are celebrating by bringing you a show that is 5 minutes late. That's how we celebrate around here.
Yep, and is also otherwise exactly like all of the other shows. So happy 200th episode.
Yes, happy 200. Well, there's going to be, so part of the reason why we're late is because I had to emergency replace my monitor. And throughout the show, to celebrate 200 episodes, I'm going to live on the air peel off pieces of plastic that are still attached to my new monitor, and you won't even be able to see it because it's behind the camera. So
that's nice. I would I would definitely buy some sort of thing that had just layers of that film you pull off of new electronics. It's really satisfying.
Okay, unless the G5 that LG sent me had the most annoying form of that I've ever encountered. It was like glued to the phone. It was so hard to peel off, and there were like 18 different pieces of it. It was ridiculous.
I got a new desk and everything a few months ago, and I was moving my monitors around, and I found on the back of one of my monitors it had like 5 pieces of that film that I had not seen for like 3 years.
That's the best.
Yeah, it was good. It's like it was better because it was old and seasoned and like bound to the plastic. It was really good.
Or like appliances where the plastic is on the metal as it's extruded, so sometimes it's like literally impossible to get off all of the plastic.
Oh God, no! Don't tell me about that because that makes me twitch.
You know what? Okay, you know what? Huawei has this weird thing where their phones, they put like most companies, they put like the shipping plastic cover on the screen. It lines up so perfectly with the frame of the phone that I forget what one of their phones I had recently. I didn't even realize for like 2 days that there was plastic on it. I just thought that the screen was really weird.
The screen is really grippy for some reason. Somebody in the chat, Scuttlefield, mentioned that we're lacking Cam tonight. I feel like we should can we put like a little thumbnail of Cat Cam in the lineup somewhere?
Yeah, I'll put it like a little tombstone, R.I.P. Cam, because he's dead to us now.
He is. He's alive to How to Geek, but he is dead to us.
I'll work some bevel and emboss magic on a picture of a tombstone, put Cameron's face on it.
So here's what I'm going to do in honor of Cam not being with us tonight. I'm going to say, hey guys, NBA stuff, am I right? And then
Basketball.
you'll be like, yeah. And then
So much.
that'll be the end of it.
It's a lot of basketball.
Basketball is a sport that exists. People play it.
Rebounds.
Dribbling.
Speaking of rebounds, so there was a interview with a player after an NCAA tournament game where has anybody seen this? Where the guy asked him how the other team out-rebounded him so bad?
Oh my God.
That is the best. That is the best interview.
He was like, well, sometimes you catch
go
the
up
ball.
with 2 hands and you grab the ball and then you come down with it.
And that's called a
what
rebound.
They call a rebound, and they had more of those than we did.
I'm gonna have to look that up because I would bet that's gonna rival that video I watched today of this kid getting shot in the back like 40 times with an airsoft gun. That was a pretty good video.
An amazing video.
I'll have to go ahead and check that out. So we have some stuff that's actually topical to do.
Yes,
too.
we do. Enough.
Yeah, we've talked about plastic enough.
That's right, and rebounds. All right, guys. So Android N. We've got lots of feature spotlights to go over this week. Lots of stuff that came out since our last show, since it was a whole 2 weeks ago. But first of all, just curious to know what you guys think. So apparently, internally, the Googlers are referring to Android N as New York cheesecake.
I think that probably David should make some sort of pie bet related to this.
Yes, I think so
Sorry,
too.
I'm not going to shame a cheesecake by doing that to it.
I love cheesecake.
The good thing about a cheesecake is you could just put it on your face and then eat your way out. So you could do that.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm still hoping for noodle, but New York cheesecake is a great name too.
Android noodle. Yes, I love it.
That would be pretty great. You probably have a hard time, justifying that as a treat, but
Can you
but
imagine
still.
like the Android statue is just like a garden hose?
I was going to say just like a plate of spaghetti, but a garden hose is about 10 times better considering most garden hoses are green.
Green noodles exist. They have a perfect out.
They do.
You know.
Hey, David, I would just like to point out that Wade County was nice enough to put a link in the chat to the rebound conversation, so you can just mark that for watch later.
Excellent.
I recommend it. Strongly recommend it. It's great.
Perfect.
All right, so so New York cheesecake. Obviously, it's important to keep in mind that the Googlers were referring to K as key lime pie internally up until it was announced that that's not in fact what it was. So there's not really anything to take away from this.
Nope.
Yeah, they don't name it until the last minute, anyways.
Right.
Which might
All
be
right,
just
so
around the corner.
let's spotlight some features, guys. So first on the list here is the ability to create custom tiles and toggles in quick settings.
That's pretty cool. I could dig it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like an expansion of the thing that they added in Marshmallow with the System UI tuner, because now the quick settings natively have the edit button and you can move things around. So apps will be able to add their own tiles. So you won't need that that custom, what was that app, the custom quick settings app. That I guess will no longer be necessary in Android N.
It's a good idea. I like it.
Yep.
Generally, I'm okay with this.
Yes, Google has our approval on this one. As they, of course, they have to seek our approval for everything they do, because Android police, it's what we do.
I'm sure that the team just like breathed a sigh of relief.
Yeah. Like, oh good, Android police approves. We can release this now.
All right.
That was a pretty basic feature. Like it does what it says on the box. So it's an easy one.
Sorry, guys. So next on the list, we had a little tweak to Do Not Disturb that allows you to disable it when your next alarm. That's how your next alarm goes off. For some reason, I was thinking we already had this, so apparently we didn't.
This is slightly different. So the thing that we have now is when you turn on Do Not Disturb, you can say, until my next alarm. This is like in the automatic rules setting, so you can toggle this option so Do Not Disturb will always shut itself off whenever there's an alarm. So you can have the phone completely silent and not, you can just have like nothing making any noise. You don't have to do priority or anything, and you'll still get alarms because it will unmute itself when there's an alarm.
I feel like there's somebody at Google who is like pushing really, really hard for this feature. Like they feel like
he's
everybody
been late a couple times,
needs this.
He's been late a couple times. And he's like, guys, look, I think we just need to do something about this.
It's like, Ted, we already gave you until next alarm in the DND quick toggle. It's like, I need a setting. And that's the
He
story.
proposes this after running into the meeting late and like dropping his notebook and tripping over a chair.
What was the fake name you gave this guy?
It's Ted. His name is
Classic Ted. Classic Ted.
Classic Ted, indeed. Oh.
Can I just say that Do Not Disturb, like automatic settings, is one of my favorite features. It's so good.
It is quite good. Yes.
It's so good.
Yep. And so now we've got this other feature, which like you're going a totally different direction. Like I understand, like, so Android TV supports recording multiple sessions of video, and it's supposed to be like a DVR. But as far as we know, there's no actual use for this on Android TV yet.
Not really. I mean, none of the hardware that exists right now, there are like 3 boxes. None of it seems to do this yet. It doesn't really, like, there's nothing with like an HDMI pass-through or anything. So, I mean, and you'd need like a lot of storage, and most of these devices come with almost none of it. So you'd have to have external storage, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's like Google's got a very pie in the sky kind of approach to this.
I'm
feature.
guessing, yeah, they probably, the only reason is if you have like pass through, and
Or I wonder if this might be like maybe it would work better on like actual TVs that have Android TV built in.
I just want to say
that
that
makes more sense.
I think that pass through is something that all Android TV devices should have.
I think
they
some,
kind of.
Yeah, they tried that with
With
Google TV.
I think that's why they didn't do it, because it was such a kind of a mess with Google TV.
Yeah.
I loved it on my CoStar, and I wish that even if it wasn't Android TV, I just wish somebody else did it. Like nobody else does HDMI pass-through anymore. So now I have to use I'm sorry, but the TVs that I buy, HDMI ports are a limited commodity, so I'm starting to deal with like switch boxes and all this other stuff. It'd be nice if there was just one thing that I didn't have to put on another port on a switch box, and I could just pull it up over top of whatever else I'm normally watching.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would kill to just have like, a TV tuner on and put up a HD signal antenna and turn it into a total broadcast piracy. I mean, content box with wonderful scheduling features for all of my content that I want to watch with definitely not skipping through the commercials. So I see the desire. I guess you could, even if there was like an HDMI input, you could do like an external TV tuner and then transcode the signal through the HDMI dongle thingy. And I want this, but at the same time I don't really like Android TV very much, so I'm not sure how much I actually really want it.
I really have very little idea what you guys are describing.
TV stuff,
but I do know. I actually don't even have a TV because I don't even.
Wow, the most New York thing ever said on the Android Police podcast.
It's like here I think that like
the date.
It's just like I don't have cable, and I'm like, and I say that, and people like roll their eyes, and Liam's just like, whatever, I don't even have a TV.
Well, because to me a TV would just be like a display, right? And I already have one of those, so like.
But how big
is
it?
27 inches.
Don't you need? I mean, that's not. But that's very small for. I mean, just looking at your video right now, you have a clock on the ground, and I see no furniture. So I just assumed that your apartment is absolutely empty except for your desk. I mean, assuming that you actually have a desk, you're not sitting on the floor. I guess I don't even know that. Maybe you don't have a desk. Maybe your apartment is literally just a physical space.
He's sitting Indian style on the floor right now.
Yes, if anybody is listening to the audio, you should go and find a video of this and just look at Liam's backdrop. It's very Spartan.
Jobsian.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Is the clock right side up? You can't even tell because there are no hashes on the.
Yeah, there are marks. It doesn't really matter.
It's such a sister clock.
It's just for scene setting. It's really important.
Okay.
So yeah, Android TV does the thing it can't do. That's the takeaway there.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So next on the feature spotlights list, we have a navigation button that dims for a slightly tweaked lights out mode.
We have 3 of them.
We have 3 of them?
3 navigation buttons that dim.
So the new lights out mode, the only difference is that instead of just turning into the little dots, they're just dimmer versions of the actual icons for the buttons, right?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I guess. Okay, that's nice. Google. They've had lights out mode since like Ice Cream Sandwich, I think, haven't they?
I am unsure of that actually.
I'm gonna need a reminder of what lights out mode. Like, when does the lights out mode kick in?
Well, the developers can implement it. It's just it dims the nav bar icons and turns them into 3 little dots instead of the buttons. That's what it is now. But apparently in N, it's just going to have like dimmer versions of the actual nav icons instead of little dots.
Gotcha. So that might be something like a Kindle app might want to use just to.
Yeah, but no, they use immersive mode or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of apps they just hide the bar altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, lights out is kind of an old-fashioned way to do things, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure what app actually. I can't even remember an app that uses it anymore, to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
why are we talking about this?
I was gonna say it's a good thing we're talking about that.
Yeah. It sounds like somebody at Google's like, screw it. Why do we have these stupid dots? Just make the buttons grayer, and that's what happened. So now we have an actually useful feature because you can pin apps to the top of the share dialog. Thank heavens.
Yay.
This is actually
okay, but that still doesn't fix the problems with direct share though, does it? Like, you can still have like a billion direct share things. Or did they change that?
I don't know, actually. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure what they've changed with direct share in N, if anything.
Direct share is very annoying, but at least it slides up now instead of like knocking everything down.
Yeah, the knocking down animation was the worst. They changed that in 5.1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
a
welcome fix.
I feel like the pinning probably isn't that discoverable, but it's a good thing so that we stop being victims of apps that are like appending A or using invisible.
Bullet
Aaron
used to
Aronson
be that.
sharing app.
It used to
There-
be a new push instead of push
Yeah.
bullet.
There were some apps actually that used an invisible Unicode character to get to the top of
Oh,
the
that is
list.
just fiendish.
Yeah.
Can you name those apps? I would like to name and shame those apps.
I don't remember the list off the top of my head, but I was talking about it with a developer recently.
That is fiendish. With a capital A.
Hyphen
Fiendish,
equals
fiendish
sign
with a
fiendish.
capital A should be the title of the episode. That'd be pretty good.
Oh, that's actually not a bad idea.
Yes.
Go ahead and make a note.
All right. So the next feature spotlight. Actually, this is. I think this is critical. So obviously we have multi-window in Android N, and what you have readily available right now is the ability to drag and drop text from an app on the left side of your screen to the right side of your screen. And then apparently, developers are going to be able to build in support to do the exact same thing with images in updated versions of their applications. So,
I saw a talk about this at DroidCon SF.
did you?
Yeah.
Wait,
sounds
which
very
feature is
compelling.
it? Sorry. I forgot the social podcast, so I'm doing that not right now.
Nice.
Where developers can add functionality to have so you can drag and drop images, basically, like Matt said, and fields like text input and stuff can receive info too.
Yeah, it's pretty buggy right now. Like a lot of apps just don't. It just doesn't work. Like you try to long press to drag and it just moves the selection handles.
Okay, and then
but when
eventually
it-
it'll do images, right?
Yeah, but when it works, it's really neat. It's something that you really kind of have to have for multi-window to
Wow,
to be
it's
really
almost
useful.
like a windowed operating system.
It is almost like that.
What I would like for multi-window is for videos to not stop because the window loses focus, which totally makes sense. Like I get why it happens, but it sucks. And B, for apps to not like flip out every time you adjust it, basically behaving as if there were like an orientation change. And that might just be because like there's something that developers have to do. I don't know. Or it might just be how Android works and we can't avoid it. But
Yeah, I hope the video thing is just because we're in developer preview and they haven't like built
I'm
something
gonna
to help that yet.
imagine part of that is also GPU limited, because I would guess that things start to get real funkalicious when you're trying to do a UI thread with a video playing in the background with, it's a different thread and everything.
To
So.
be honest, though, I would be totally fine with just picture-in-picture for YouTube.
Yeah, that's what I want. I mean,
Like-
it's what everybody wants.
Like
I am
Twitch
curious,
and-
Or Netflix, that'd be good too. Picture-in-picture for Netflix is kind of my dream.
So you can't. So even if you have YouTube Red, it stops playing if you fork. If you
Yeah,
focus
well,
on it.
because the window loses focus, and so the video doesn't play anymore.
Yeah.
So it's
Interesting.
not like gonna.
So it doesn't continue to play the audio.
No, it plays the
No,
audio.
no,
It just
it-
doesn't play the video.
Okay, I got you. That makes more
You know-
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Samsung has had multi-window stuff for years, and it's kind of the same way where if you have a video up and then you change to the other window, like it loses focus and it stops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's, there's some kind of, not necessarily hardware, but kind of kind of fundamental in Android.
I guess the answer might just be picture-in-picture because I mean Twitch and YouTube Gaming has it now too, right? The flyout player.
Yeah, I mean, technically you're able to force the system to do this kind of stuff. It's all kind of, I forget, me and Artem, I think we're talking about, like, the ability in Android exists. Like, that's how chat heads can work, basically.
Mhm.
I mean, you're just putting a video element inside the element in the UI, so anything
Which,
should theoretically be able to do this.
I've been noticing interesting behavior with that. This is like kind of going off the rails a little bit, but I was trying to grant accessibility permission to the accessibility scanner that Google released, and because of chat heads, I couldn't do that because it was saying that an app might be obscuring a permission request, which is super
Yeah.
interesting. And
So what that is that's trying to prevent apps from having the ability to click OK for you and
Right.
grant themselves permissions.
yeah, but it's interesting because the draw over apps permission, like the first release of M, apps would have to make you go to this like super scary settings screen to turn it on and allow them to do that if they targeted API 23.
Yes,
But
I remember
now in 6.1 they don't have to do that anymore. Like they'll automatically get it if they're targeting API 23. Yeah.
Interesting.
So at that point in time, do you have to close whatever that app is in order to?
I honestly gave up because I closed Messenger and like it still was saying it, so I was just like, okay, bye. I don't need this that bad. So I'll just do it later.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah. I mean, the way they do it in iOS with picture-in-picture video now, it works pretty seamlessly for the most part. I've not had any issues when I am using it, although YouTube doesn't support it in iOS because they're awful. But Amazon does it. Obviously, all of Apple's apps do. I don't think Netflix does it yet. I'm not sure, but I think Hulu does it.
Scuttlefield said I said 6.1. Do we know for sure that N is 6.1? I meant 6.0.1. Sorry. Don't get excited, anybody.
Oh, yeah. I don't know that N is 6.1. That doesn't really probably... I mean, who knows? Nobody actually knows.
Yeah, I don't even think Google probably knows.
Yeah, I don't think Google knows.
They're just going to make it 8.0 just to mess with everybody.
Yeah.
They're
No,
going
it's
to
Android 10.
They're going to pull a Windows 10. They're just going to skip a number or two.
Maybe they'll just stop getting at version numbers. Maybe it's just Android N, and then it'll be like N.1.
Noodle.1.
Okay, I think that might actually be the episode title.
What, Noodle.1?
Okay. And we have, let's see, how many more? Okay, so there's mono playback in Android N. That's a thing.
So why would somebody want that? I mean,
Oh, there are reasons. So there are actually two good reasons. And Samsung has had this on their phone since time eternal. And so the first reason is it's about accessibility. So if you're deaf or hard of hearing in one ear and you want to hear more than just the left or right channel, obviously this is very useful to you when using headphones. So, you get the sound from both channels in one ear. It's also supremely useful if you are driving a car which does not have Bluetooth or a stereo that you want to use, and you can put one earbud in one ear and get sound from both channels. Or if you're on a bicycle or a motorcycle or something and want to do the same and don't want to, because it's generally illegal, at least in the United States and most states, to drive with both ears obstructed. So it's useful for that as well. I'm sure there are other uses, like professionally, that people can come up with in their jobs where they need to be listening to something in the background or want to be, but also need one ear free. So it's definitely got a variety of uses, I think. It's a handy feature.
I often wish that I could listen to two things at once and process them both equally, but I don't think my phone can help me do that.
I know.
No, I think you'd probably need some sort of like crazy brain tumor or something to do that. It'd be some sort of
cryogenically frozen and just
something
leave a note
in the Marvel or DC universe.
that says unfreeze me whenever I can hear two things and understand them both.
You would have to be bitten by a radioactive something. I don't know what.
A radioactive ear.
What happened to Liam? He sure is weird these days. Oh, he was.
I don't know. I feel like it's important to note as we continue with the show that we can only have one episode title. Or we could do something like Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah. Bitten by a radioactive ear is definitely a front runner, though.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm liking it. It's a little long for Twitter.
It's under 140 characters. It'll be fine.
But when you add a link, it adds a predetermined number of characters, no matter how long the link is. I've learned this.
So far we're up to, the first one I came up was Plastic Peel Rebounds, and then Fiendish with a capital A, Noodle.1, and now Bitten by a Radioactive Ear. Got a lot of strong contenders this week.
This is good. Yeah. I mean, you could just put alt titles in the podcast post, too.
Yeah, good. So, two more end feature spotlights to dig through.
Two more. So the first one is notification priority. It's just really, really good tight control over notification priority. So I haven't used it yet. Somebody who has maybe can shed some more light on that.
So yeah, it is a more powerful version of the new notification priority stuff that they put in Android N. So without it, if you don't turn this on, and you long press on a notification or go to an app's notification settings, you can like have it show notifications silently, block all notifications, or just show everything, which is don't silence or block. If you turn on full important settings, which is in the UI tuner, then when you look at these settings, you have like this like bar where you drag the dot up and down to like the different spots to decide how important you want the notification to be. And it says at the top like a description of like what each setting is. I actually kind of like this more than the default one because it seems more intuitive than like tapping the little bubble next to the sort of the vague description. Like this way you can just sort of like slide and like if it's way over to the right then it's really important. If it's way over to the left it's not important.
Yeah, so I haven't really tried it yet. I mean, I've read up. So what the levels are basically, don't talk to me. The second one is show a notification but don't do anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
The middle one is normal. So if I'm not in DND, you can just show me a notification. Otherwise, do what you normally do. What is the second highest one?
If I wrote
Is
them
that
all
priority,
post.
basically? And then the fifth one would be no matter what, make noise.
Yeah, well, I like the highest one is
Is
like
like
at the top of the notification settings and make noise and make sure I see it. Hold on, I'm looking for my. I'm
so
looking
it's
for
bat phone mode.
my message right
I was
now.
going to say it's the Amber Alert mode.
Yeah. I don't have the full importance turned on, so I can't really check right now because I want to know what the difference between the fourth and fifth level is. The 1 through 3 makes sense,
Yeah,
but
I'm
let's see
turning on
here.
my
Do not
Nexus 6
disturb.
and
Oh wait, no, that's not it. Show full importance settings. So if we go to a notification, select. Okay, so the fourth level is show at the top of notification lists and allow sound. The fifth level is peek onto the screen. So fourth
that's
level
right, peeking.
disables peeking. Interesting. So none of the other levels have peeking. That's kind of
Apparently
weird.
not. Yeah, yeah, and like the like they sort of moved the peaking option around in N because it used to be like in the main notification settings, and now I think it's like in like a different area because you can't. I think.
So what's
Yeah,
really
it's
weird
just
about this is that if you go use, and I really find this annoying because like peeking to me is like I want my notifications to peak because I want to see it, like almost all of them. Chinese phones, like on EMUI, generally disable peeking by default, and they hide it away, nest it away in another part of the OS where you manage this. And it looks like Google is starting to feel the same way. Yeah, that makes
I mean
me.
there was a lot of backlash when they added heads-up notifications in Lollipop just because it was kind of implemented poorly. And I think there's sort of some inertia still behind this whole like let's make them less annoying thing, and they're actually getting to the point where they might not be as useful.
Okay. Are they really that annoying? I mean, I never really understood that. But I love peeking notifications because it's like, oh, I can see what's going on and decide if I want to act on it, rather than just getting this useless little icon at the top of the
So
screen.
for me, peaking notifications are annoying because I know that you can swipe them up to get rid of them or whatever, but that feels very dangerous to me still because I feel like I'm going to click on it and I have
You can
accidentally
swipe
before.
right too, though, right? So you can dismiss
But that
them.
gets rid of the
Okay.
notification.
Yeah, swiping to the side clears them.
But
Swiping
how
super
often
low.
is there context like actually interfering with your interaction at that moment? Like how often are you tapping at the top of the
When I'm
screen?
using Twitter, like all the time. All the time.
Okay. I just don't. This to me is something I don't regularly experience, so it's a bit odd to me.
And
It's a bit
it's just
issue.
like the discomfort and questioning of not like I really don't want to tap the notification accidentally.
Huh. Okay. I wasn't aware you could actually swipe them up. I just swipe them
Yeah.
away usually, so I guess
But it's
that
like a
makes sense.
dangerous. It's risky. Too risky.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, that's the important slider, which I hope makes it into the final release because that lets you do some stuff that is kind of nice. Although I'm not necessarily sure I by default agree with what each level does at this point. Seems like there's probably some room for interpretation left there.
So we've got another type of vagueness. We've replaced one vagueness for another vagueness.
Kind of, I guess. I mean, it's fairly clear what the slider does once you look at it, but I don't know. It's an interesting idea.
All right, so the last little feature spotlight to mention was apparently we can now have a settings link in the app info screen. So if you're looking at your app info screen, you're thinking about clearing your cache or something, maybe there's a setting you want to change instead, I guess, is the thought there.
I think it's just a cool tidbit, like being able to link into something like that in the app from the system.
Yep.
I mean, if only there was an OS out there that included individual app settings in the main settings hierarchy, essentially since forever.
I think it's obvious what you're getting at, but the way iOS does it is terrible.
It's kind of annoying.
iOS settings are one of the most frustrating interfaces that I have ever used in my entire life, and I hate them.
Yeah, basically,
So
hey,
much.
here's the screen brightness. Fuck you. That's
I literally I go into it much like Adobe Acrobat. I go into it every time thinking that I know exactly where to go,
Yeah, it's so
and
true.
then I have no clue, and it turns out that I'm totally wrong.
It's like you walk into the mall and you're like, oh, I know exactly where the store is, and then you walk in completely opposite direction where it actually is.
Yeah, and you end up in some other store in like the back room, and you're like, where the hell am I? How did I get here?
It's like, wait, they don't have shorts at the Sunglasses Hut. It's so true. I will agree to that. I do often find myself like kind of in an Alzheimer's sort of state in the iOS settings menu. Although, if I want to adjust the settings of a given app, there is a list of them there, and I can do that. Because my home screens are basically a nightmare because I don't manage them at all. It's much easier to go into settings and look at an alphabetized list.
It would be great if they had like an app drawer or something. I mean, wouldn't it be weird if there was an OS that like had an app drawer forever, and suddenly there were a bunch of companies that just thought they should get rid of that? That would be weird.
That would be something.
Yeah.
I'm on the brink, you guys, of making a pie bet about the app drawer.
Ooh.
Although I feel like people have kind of dropped that rumor.
I think they have definitely.
Nobody's said anything about it since the end preview came out.
I feel like at worst we're gonna end up with a scenario where there's a toggle to turn it off.
So for one thing, can I just say that like turning off the app drawer would be an absolute nightmare UX-wise. Like having a toggle to turn it on and off would be an absolute nightmare.
I think it would be awesome to have nothing on your home screens and then just toggle that off and then watch the chaos happen.
Just everything explodes everywhere. Like, what happens to your widgets? Are your folders still there? Like, where do the blank spaces stay?
The image I'm getting is you're walking out of a grocery store with 2 bags in your arms, and it's like, would you like to turn off bags?
They don't just fall out though. They fly all around.
They explode they explode straight up in the air, and you have to catch everything as it falls back down.
Yes, but your produce is so much easier to find now. It's on the ground.
The thing is, it lowers the cognitive load, is what it does.
It does not.
That's what I've heard.
No, it does not. That is, oh my god. I have very strong feelings about the app drawer.
I can tell. I think we all do. We're just,
Yeah, I'm very much pro app drawer.
Yeah.
I think everybody on this show is pro app drawer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm also very anti-folder. I don't like folders.
I have exactly one folder on my device, and it is the Google stuff. I put all the Google stuff in a folder.
See, I am pro folders because I like very minimal things on my screen, but I also like quick access to stuff. So I end up with 5 folders.
Actually,
have-
I take it back. If I'm using like a third party launcher or something, then I also have a screen a folder of like media apps like Netflix and Hulu and stuff. But otherwise, no. I mean, I know there are people that have like 5, 6, 7, whatever, a billion folders, like all perfectly organized. But that's just too much. That's too much.
I also
have,
don't like using multiple screens, like multiple home screens. So I think that plays into it as well.
I have empty home screens. I love empty home screens. I have 4 folders that are all neatly organized, but then I also have some icons that have a gesture hiding another icon behind them.
Yes, that's yeah. I saw somebody doing that earlier today, and I don't know how I feel about that. It's weird.
It's well, it's like I have the camera, and then if I swipe that, it opens Snapchat because I don't like open that often, so I don't want it like on my screen, but I do want to access it as soon as possible.
Got a snap right now.
For those Snapchat emergencies.
That's right. Well, I do believe we have a word from our sponsor that would be a good time to.
Oh my God! So I have to comment on what somebody just said in the chat because it is gonna give me a heart palpitation. Zerblade says he has nothing but folders and widgets. 2 pages of folders and
Holy God.
5 pages of widgets.
Is this guy
What?
Artem? Is this
How-
Artem secretly?
How can you even have
I don't
that
think
many
Artem
pages
has
of
that many
widgets?
widgets. I don't think Artem actually likes widgets very much.
I feel like
I-
if he could, he would layer like he would have like you know how you can have widgets aligned to the grid. You would have like 0.5 by 0.5 widgets.
Yeah, I would like this person to please take screenshots of his 5 pages of widgets and put them in the chat room because
Please
I don't
do.
believe him. I
Or
don't
like send them
believe him.
to us. We can have like a oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
God, we could have it evaluate your home screen session, but it's actually us just making fun of your
Wait,
home screen
can
because
we
there's
have, like,
no
apps?
way we're gonna like
That
it.
absolutely will happen. Hey, everybody out there, if you want us to make fun of your home screens, please send us screenshots.
Send them to us ahead of time because I would like to make like a keynote presentation with like sunset pictures and like music in the background where
Yeah.
like sparkles are happening. It's I think it could be really fun.
That would be great.
Listen.
Send us your home screens, definitely. I would love to. Actually, this is a great idea. Send us your home screens. And we probably
Wait.
won't like them, but we may dislike them so much that we love them.
Zerblade
Yeah.
says that isn't the first time I've heard that. Is this guy Artem? So to continue my research, Zerblade, can you tell me what your opinion is on having dedicated page up, page down keys on your keyboard?
This is very important. That's
Are they
actually,
or not? Are they not a necessity to happiness in life now and forever?
This will tell me once and for all if this guy is Artem.
Are we gonna wait for the lag to catch up so we can find out?
We're just
I
gonna
don't know,
sit here.
but I'm just gonna come up with an idea that I think will help the whole home screen idea. Is that we should just create a username for Reddit that is PM me your home screen and just
I bet
comment
that-
all over all the Android subreddits with it.
I wonder if that's taken already. It might be.
Necessary, but I don't think I use them nearly as often as Artem does. There's the answer, guys. This guy's secretly Artem. Don't try to play and tell me you don't
How
use
does
them.
he know how often Artem uses them?
Exactly. Have you ever seen Zerblade and Artem in the same place at the same time? No, and here's another piece of evidence. Artem claims that he never watches the AP podcast, and yet we have this person who's exactly like Artem but has a different name.
I think
This
what
is-
we're getting at here is
this
that
is weird.
Artem actually has some sort of multiple personality disorder.
Matt, do we have you know that like whistling intro sound to the X Files? Do we have that as a sounder?
I don't have any sounders, Liam. I'm sorry.
Well, we need to get some. We need that one especially.
There's a disturbing lack of plugins for Hangouts that allow that type of functionality. I mean,
Well, you know, they
they
can't even
exist,
get
but they're all terrible, and you have to pay for their terribleness.
you know they can't even get lower thirds working correctly. So I think probably we shouldn't push our luck.
Yeah.
All right.
Do me and him replying to each other on Google Plus Comments count? No, because it could be you on an alt account.
Okay. So it's time for sponsory stuff. And I will go ahead and start that. Wait, am I muted? That's really weird. Did you guys not hear that at all?
We heard nothing, and also you sound different.
Yes, you sound echoey, and we heard no audio.
Okay, I fixed it now, so I'm gonna have to mark this in this stupid edited episode and fix it. All right, it's gonna go now. Have you ever wondered who hosts AndroidPolice.com? No? Well, I'm about to tell you anyways because of this week's podcast sponsor, Linode. And Android Police has been hosted on Linode for over 5 years now, and we've been very happy with them. And that really is a big part of why they're this week's podcast sponsor, because we can recommend them wholeheartedly. For being a listener to the Android Police podcast, you can get a $20 Linode service credit if you go to linode.com/Android Police. That is L-I-N as in no, O-D as in dog, E.com/Android Police. And that $20 credit isn't a credit you can't use. That gets you 2 months of service on Linode's base tier, which costs $10 a month. Everything's billed hourly, but if you price it out per month, it's $10 per month for that basic tier. And that gets you a gigabyte of RAM, a CPU core, 24 gigs of SSD storage, 2 terabytes of transfer capacity, 40 gigabits per second in connection on the network, and 125 megabits per second out, all for just $10 a month. Linode offers a variety of plans that scale all the way from 1 gigabyte of RAM and 1 CPU core to 96 gigabytes of RAM and 20 CPU cores. So they have something there for everybody, depending on your server needs. Linode has state-of-the-art servers. They've recently switched from Zen to KVM virtualization, which provided Unix benchmark increases of over 300% for virtual server performance. So they are fast. And that native SSD storage, coupled with a 40 gigabit network and processors, which are the new Intel E5 Xeon processors, which are very fast, offer you cutting-edge servers for not really all that high of a price. You get 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week support, even on holidays. There's a 7-day money-back guarantee for any service, and you can get a server running in under a minute. There are add-on services available for backups, node balancers, and Longview. Everything there to really meet your needs for a server. And like I said, if you head to linode.com/Android Police and sign up today, you'll get that $20 credit. You can check out what Linode's all about. I mean, they host Android Police, and we like them. So what have we got to lose?
All right, so we are moving on to the section of the show formerly known as the hot sheet. Nobody's going to scream it, though. Nobody's going to yell hot sheet. Sorry. Unless Liam is. I don't know. Maybe Liam will. But we had several, actually, Android Wear devices announced this week. Like a freakishly large amount of Android Wear devices were announced. We had 2 from Fossil. We had a couple from Nixon. And Michael Kors announced some smartwatches. So,
and LG re-announced.
LG brought back the Urbane 2. The Urbane 2 LTE.
Which,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's start at the top. So Fossil, they had the Q Founder last year. Now they have 2 more on the way this summer called the Q Wander and the Q Marshall. I don't know what is up with their naming scheme, but that's what they're doing. So the Marshall is a sort of a bigger watch. It is a 46 millimeter case, so it's like the larger Moto 360 or the Q Founder. It's about that size. And then there's a slightly smaller 42 millimeter one that is the Wander. So I think that they have some pretty interesting color combos. Like there's this like gunmetal blue with like leather thing for the Marshall that I think looks quite nice actually. And it's sort of like a little bit of a beefier looking watch, like it's a very masculine watch. And then the other one, the Wander, is kind of more subdued and kind of like, I think it has kind of a unisex look. Like it would not be weird to see a woman wearing that watch, like with maybe like a more a light color theme, because they have like a gold one and they have black ones, or they will eventually. But so they actually look like watches, which is cool, but they are still going to have the flat tire LCD like the Q Founder did. So I know a lot of people will be bummed about that, but I mean, for all of the Q Founder's flaws, like it did look like a real watch. Like it's the little things in the design, like the way it was put together. It felt like a real watch that just happened to have an LCD on it instead of a regular watch face.
So there's nothing that we know of at this point that makes them like technically new. They're just new
They're just new,
designs.
yeah, they're just new designs. They don't. I asked them if they had spec sheets yet, and they didn't. So that's a
Okay.
little odd. I guess we'll find out in a couple of weeks or months if there's anything technologically different about them.
You know, I really like how the Wanderer looks, um, but I'm very afraid that it has a flat tire
Well, yeah, I
because
mean,
Oh, I'm sure it does.
all the
no,
photos
they,
have a
they
black
do. I
screen
I
so
asked.
far. So,
I
oh,
specifically asked. They said that they do have flat tires.
oh man.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's still a thing. Um,
Why? Why? Is it?
I
It
mean,
must just be easier that way to attach the LCD,
for
right?
the yeah, I think LCDs. I mean, because the only watches we've had that are completely round are AMOLEDs, right? There
Uh,
hasn't been like such a thing
I
as
don't
a
know.
completely round LCD.
Is the watch AMOLED?
Yeah, it
Oh,
is.
okay. I mean, I'll take
So
AMOLED if it means a round screen.
really, you'd be willing to risk the burn-in? I know how you feel about that.
I'm willing to risk it. I haven't noticed it on my watch yet, but now that you say that, I'm gonna go look. I'm going to
Can you
cry.
can you install markers on Android Wear?
I don't know, but I'm gonna try it.
Um, yeah, but I mean, yeah, there's still flat tire LCDs, so that's kind of a bummer. But I mean, I still wear the Moto 360 V2 a fair bit, and it doesn't bother me that much. Like there are some watch faces that definitely make it look real bad,
But it's a
but
watch.
yeah,
Watch is all about looks.
this is true. Looks are very important.
Lawyers.
I don't know, like maybe it's just me, but I feel like the flat tire limits you to black watch faces because it looks fine with black watch faces, but if you put any other color watch face on there, it doesn't.
But also the very interface of the platform makes it look bad, right?
Right, because
Yeah.
you're bringing all the cards up from the
You
bottom.
got cards, you got settings, you got whatever apps you use.
It'd be like if you took a smartphone and then like cut a diagonal out of one of the corners.
Yeah,
Kinda what-
Specifically,
that is what it would be like.
it would specifically be the top left corner so that you can't see all of your notifications.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
It's like no, but guys, it's a near optimal user interface design. You just see your notifications kind of sideways and to the right. It's fine.
So
Yeah.
I will say this. I know several people who have Moto 360s, and all of them say that once you have it and you use it, you don't even notice the flat tire anymore, or you don't care. But I don't know how much of that is just you're convincing yourself to love the thing you spent the money on. I mean, subconsciously, I don't think people are purposely convincing themselves of that, but
I mean, well, to me, it's like, so would you rather it had the flat tire or it didn't? And the answer is obvious.
I don't think anybody would tell you if
Right.
they would. Well, I think very few people would tell you they would prefer that it had it.
Well,
but-
people on Reddit don't count.
But I mean, that is where the ambient light sensor is, and an ambient light sensor on a watch is pretty good. That's a nice thing to have.
I suppose. So we also have this Nixon watch, which is extreme for extreme
Yeah,
people to
yeah,
do
it's gonna
extreme
be-
things.
It's gonna be
Very
the
extreme.
most water resistant watch, smartwatch ever. Apparently, like it can sit under, let's see, 100 meters of water, and it
Wow.
will continue to function. So I mean that's impressive if you're spending a lot of time deep underwater. I don't think many of us are, but it has I think it has an AMOLED if I am not mistaken.
It looks like, yeah, it does look like that.
It has a completely round AMOLED display. No flat tire there.
And it's got the new Snapdragon Wear
Yes,
2100
that's the other thing about
chipset.
it. Is it'll have the new Wear specific chip, so hopefully it will actually have some pretty good battery life.
Someone
also-
someone should make an accessory for divers who are wearing this phone that's like a bubble bracelet that would transmit words from your dive mask into the bracelet so your watch could hear it. So you could say, "Okay, Google," underwater. Just a thought.
You know, I have to say that it looks like it's very extreme. It looks like it even comes in extreme Doritos orange.
Yeah, it's
Extreme
the same
Doritos
thing.
orange.
Like the Moto 360 Sport comes in that orange color too. I don't get it.
That extreme Doritos color that's definitely a real color that things come in.
It's very real. So, I mean, I have to wonder, how does this charge? And if it's pogo pins, like, they're going to corrode in seawater. There's just no way they won't.
Yeah, I don't know if there are any pictures of the back.
Yeah, I haven't seen any.
I'm looking. I'm scrolling through the video here. They're just showing people doing extreme stuff. This dude's climbing a mountain. This guy's surfing. Yeah, this guy's throwing some snow up in the air. They're all wearing the watch. I mean, I haven't seen much of it. Okay, there we go. This guy, he's got the watch on. He's in the water. That guy's wiping snow off it. No idea. No idea how it charges.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then there were, kind of flipping back to the stylish, I guess, end of the spectrum, Michael Kors watches, which, okay. There's one for the ladies and one for the guys, I guess, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Gonna have.
I mean, they could be for whoever. I'm not saying they're for anybody, but it's one has what look like rhinestones encrusted in the center of the band. So
it's for fabulous people.
yes, it is very fabulous with its flat tire.
But yeah, as I said, they are definitely not for people who hate flat tire LCDs because they have got those.
But it would look good with a gold watch face, obviously. I guess
A sparkly.
Not really.
It would look good with a gold watch face that accurately renders light reflection in the same way as a sparkly gold surface underneath glass would.
Actually, who was it? Was it LG or Huawei that had a watch face that like the reflection changes as you twist your wrist?
That's LG.
Okay, it's LG. Yeah. So you could totally do it. Definitely.
I remember
It'd be super good, that thing.
there were rumors back when iOS was still in like full skeuomorphic mode that they were going to come out with an iPhone that did that for all the interface elements. All of those like circular brushed metal textures.
And apparently Jeff Bezos saw that and ran with it.
Oh my God! I remember reading this. And totally, I'm going to derail the discussion. There was this thing about Jeff Bezos' article. I don't know if it's published today, where somebody's like, "Yeah, Jeff sometimes just puts ideas out there, like, hey, what if when people read the story and they decide they don't like it, they press a button and they pay, and it removes all the vowels from the story, and we'll call it disemvoweling the story."
Oh my God.
And then people can pay to add the vowels back.
That took like a really small random idea and built like an entire narrative around it.
And then I imagine everybody in the room was like, "Shut up, Jeff," and or no, they're like, "Sounds great, Jeff. It sounds fantastic. Somebody take Jeff out of the room."
And then as soon as he leaves, everybody puts away their Fire phones and takes out their real phones.
Oh, and so finally we have the Michael Kors watches. Those they didn't have any tech specs on those, did they? That doesn't look like they
I
did.
don't believe so, no.
Yeah, so it's the same deal with because
I'm
Fossil
sure-
and Michael Kors, are they the same company?
I don't know.
I'm not sure about that
Who
actually.
needs tech specs anyways? they're
Yeah.
gold.
They were similar in not having tech specs, and then finally they're going to re-release the Watch Urbane 2 LTE, which I guess they changed the name now because it used to be Watch Urbane LTE Second Edition or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay,
So,
but here's what's
oh no,
weird
it is
about
Watch
this.
Urbane Second Edition LTE. That's what the video says.
Okay, so wait. AT&T wants $360 for it off contract, which is a lot of money. But Verizon wants $500.
Well,
What is up
because
with that?
Verizon knows that exactly nobody will buy it from them off contract, so they don't care, I guess.
even with the contract, it's only like $100 less or something. It's like a ridiculously expensive watch on Verizon. I don't even get it. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, I don't really understand either. Was Verizon one of the initial partners when they first announced it, or was it just AT&T?
Yes, I believe so. Verizon was the only place you could buy for like the 3 days it was available.
I thought it was AT&T was the only place you could buy it.
I think AT&T was about to release it.
No, I think AT&T definitely did sell it because I remember people saying they got one and they weren't sure if they should return it or something.
I know
like
that happened at Verizon, or at least that's what I remember.
It was Verizon. All right. Anyway, it's an Android Wear watch with LTE, which you don't really need. Just
Yeah, it's I don't get the need for a constant LTE connection on my watch. It's not going to be useful enough that I'm going to leave my phone someplace.
Yep.
So I'm curious if anybody else has run into this because the LTE thing brings it to mind. So I got the Huawei watch when they were on sale on Amazon the other week, and one thing I've noticed is because my old watch didn't have Wi-Fi, is that if I go like an extended period of time away from my phone and it disconnects from Bluetooth, after a while it just says, you know what, I'm turning Wi-Fi off to save your battery. So
Yeah, Wear has done that for a long time, and I don't.
Yeah,
It's
so
why.
Android Wear pro tip, just turn off Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
just don't use it.
I don't
It's
even know
pointless.
why.
It just drains your battery. Seriously, that's all it does.
Yeah, it has never worked reliably for me, like even when it's on, and then it shuts itself off so fast that I don't even know why they bother with it.
So I guess the question is there any reason to believe that this watch wouldn't do the same thing with its LTE connection?
I mean, that would be really,
Um,
really dumb.
Yeah, I don't think it turns off the LTE to save battery. Well, it probably only turns it off when there's not a Bluetooth connection.
Yeah.
So, or when there is a Bluetooth connection, excuse me. So, and even yeah, I don't know. I just would not trust Android Wear to handle that kind of thing yet. Seems
Yeah,
ill-advised.
it's kind of sketchy with Bluetooth still. So, yeah.
Yeah, adding mobile data to the mix just sounds like, oh, let me pay a monthly fee to be frustrated.
All right, so product review time. We got an S7 review to discuss, David.
And I will try to just get this out of the way quickly. So the S7. So last year the S6, big design changes. You know, all the changes to the design, and everybody was like, ooh, metal, glass, etc. And curved edge screen, ooh, neat. And then Samsung was all like, and then Samsung, you know. They basically, you know, kept that design going with the Note 5 and the S6 Edge Plus. The S6 Edge Plus, I think, was Samsung's best phone last year. But unifying factor among Samsung's phones last year, no SD card, crappy battery life, no waterproofing, and they ran Android 5.1 or 5.0, I guess, initially for the S6 and S6 Edge, which was a objectively crappy version of Android, unfortunately, and they're just now getting Marshmallow. So, what do you get with the S7 and S7 Edge? And I know a lot of people will probably be upgrading from the S5 or from some other older device. So the S7 and S7 Edge really just basically exist to address the pain points of those devices from last year. Better battery life. The S7 and S7 Edge in particular get pretty damn good battery life. I'm able to get over 5 hours of screen on the S7 Edge on Wi-Fi at home. Probably closer to a little over 4 hours if I'm on mobile data only. Maybe a little less depending on like if I'm away from Wi-Fi for like a whole like 16 hours in a day or something, depending on how much I'm using LTE, how bad the signal is. But overall, the battery life on these phones is such a huge improvement. Better battery life than the Nexus 6P, hands down. No question about that. Probably class-leading battery life for Android phones right now. It's not amazing battery life. It's not like going to be Droid, whatever the max is. It still a max right now? I forget. I don't follow Verizon's Droid
Turbo.
phones. Yeah, so it's not going to be like the crazy 4,500 milliamp hour or whatever battery that's in those kind of devices, but it's a very good battery life for what these phones are, how thin and light they are. And then supposedly the Exynos versions, I'm using the Snapdragon versions here in America, get actually even better battery life than that, which I find hard to believe, but at the same time that seems to be what everybody's observing. So it's got to be some killer battery life. I would imagine over 6 hours screen on the S7 Edge with Exynos if it's really a noticeable difference. And that's pretty incredible. So what else about the phone's cameras? Greatly improved in most settings. Low light performance in particular is way boosted from the S6 and S6 Edge Plus, Note 5, etc. from last year. Daylight performance, you probably won't notice a big difference. In fact, daylight performance could be a little worse in some situations if you are cropping, especially because the sensor is down to, I believe, a 12 megapixel unit versus was it 15 or 16 from last year?
16.
Yeah, so it's definitely a lower resolution camera, but at the same time, the low light performance is undoubtedly going to be worth it for almost everybody. That's really the main thing on the camera. They also talk about this new autofocus technology that uses the whole sensor. It is really fast. I find it also very uncooperative sometimes. It really doesn't want to focus in some situations. You can sit there and tap like crazy on the subject you want to focus on, and it just won't do it. Or it'll go to it very briefly and then go back to something else. Like you've moved the camera and it's trying to refocus. So it seems too touchy in that regard. I also noticed that in low light shots, a lot of the time it airs way too aggressively on the side of overexposing, and you end up with something that looks like washed out and bright. You could probably fix it in editing and just artificially lower the exposure value after the fact, but nonetheless, it doesn't produce necessarily the prettiest low light images. It just gives you something that's usable, especially if you want to tweak it afterward. Overall, though, great camera, very fast shutter speed, even in low light. It moves very quickly, and that's probably the big difference over the Nexus 6P, which was my favorite camera on a phone last year that I really enjoyed. Although I still like Google's HDR processing better, especially at night, because Samsung's looks not very good at night, in my opinion at least. Performance-wise, this is no faster than a Galaxy S6 if you're on the Snapdragon 820 chip. I really don't think you're going to notice a difference. You're just going to see that better battery life, and I think that's because Samsung has tuned the 820 pretty aggressively to conserve power in many situations. So they aren't slow phones, but there are some situations where you're going to be able to get them to stutter and freak out a little bit. They're not as fast as, say, the LG G5 on Snapdragon 820. I can definitely say that. And again, people are saying the Exynos versions are faster. I have an Exynos version, and it does seem noticeably faster than Snapdragon 820 in some situations. The screen is still the best in the business, no doubt about that at all. I love the S7 Edge display in particular. It's absolutely beautiful. There's this issue with grippability on it right now that a number of people, including myself, are having where the phone is detecting the edge of your fingers too easily, and it's causing issues with interaction with the S7 Edge. Supposedly there is a patch going out that is fixing that for people who are affected, so that's good. The big question at the end of the day is, so these phones, they're waterproof and they had a micro SD slot back. So those were two gripes with phones from last year from Samsung. And the battery life, the improved camera, the great screen. So the big question is, are you willing to spend, for the S7 Edge, you're looking at $750+, usually closer to $800 in the US for a 32 gigabyte phone. And anything this size of an iPhone, that's obviously very expensive. So I think if you're on a monthly, installment plan, or maybe even buying on contract if you're still doing that, these are really good phones. I think the S7 Edge is probably the best Android phone you can buy right now, all things considered. And I don't think the LG G5 or the HTC 10 are going to change my opinion on that. I have a G5, and even knowing some of the issues I'm having with it may be because it's a pre-production version, even if all those things are fixed, I would still prefer the S7 Edge far and away. And the HTC 10, I just don't see HTC doing anything that's going to really catch my interest over the S7 Edge. So I think the S7 Edge is really the pinnacle of Android smartphones right now. The question is whether or not you want to spend $800 on a phone. So, and I don't think that's everybody, and I can definitely understand that. I still love the Nexus 6P, still think it's a great value. So yeah, and between the S7 and S7 Edge, if you're already considering $700 or $650 on the S7, the extra $100 for the S7 Edge is a no-brainer to me, unless you just don't want a bigger phone. The bigger screen and bigger battery and the curved display, which looks amazing, are just totally worth it. No question in my mind. So yeah, great phones. Very expensive phones, though.
I would add, though, the only thing about the Edge phone that kind of gives me pause is that, I mean, just aside from being bigger, like, it's not as comfortable to hold because the Edge is really narrow because of the curved screen. And like the regular S7, the metal band around it is like it just feels nicer in the hand. I feel like I'm always like on the verge of like losing my grip on the Edge.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about losing your grip on the S7 Edge at all.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely didn't drop it and put a bunch of dents all over the frame or anything. So yeah. I will say that the S7 Edge is still much more comfortable to hold than the S6 Edge, the small version last year, which was
the Edge Plus, especially.
Yeah,
those phones had the completely flat glass backs, which was not super comfy. But these ones have like the curved glass, like the Note 5 did. So they're better. But I still think like, just like holding the regular S7 is like, it's just like a very nice feeling phone, and like even though it's like made of glass, I don't feel like I'm about to drop it.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if you're the kind of person who puts your phone in a case, then you don't care about either of those things. It's just kind of what it is. But if you want to go naked, then the regular S7 may be a less droppable device overall.
Yeah,
If
I mean,
that's concerned.
it's a good size that you don't see that much anymore. A 5.1-inch phone is something that a lot of people can use one-handed.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'd say about those.
All right. So the last little bit was David. You had posted an article about the the iPhone SE. Obviously, the smaller version of the iPhone that was announced this week. And you think that might potentially lead to a market with more good small Android phones. We really don't get small Android phones anymore. It's not. We used to have compact editions that were, or minis or whatever, that were much more terrible versions of flagship phones, but not even that's a thing anymore.
I would say go to the site and read this if you're interested, because we're running a little long this week already. The short of it is, I think the iPhone SE, by cramming basically an iPhone 6s's guts into a much smaller phone, a phone so small that basically no Android phones, even crappy ones, are this small anymore, could create some momentum to make smaller Android phones, something in the range of 4.5 to 5 inches, more common again. Although we're already seeing that, a lot of manufacturers are kind of inching back. The LG D5 is smaller than the G4. So there's already seems to be some either that, or companies are sticking with 5 inches or 5.1 and not really advancing beyond that on these mainstream phones. Sony dropped the Z line, and the new X phones are all 5 inches. So I think that we may see a little bit of regression on the giant Android phones. But overall, I would just say that the iPhone SE may, especially if it sells well, could probably be an example to Android OEMs that, well, maybe there's a market for this sort of thing.
I just want to say that I think it's hilarious that they showed us Liam, the iPhone disassembling robot, and then they were like, also, we have a new iPhone that looks just like the 5S, okay?
Don't ask where we got the parts for this. It's not interesting. You would be bored.
Liam disassembling a phone intensifies. Parts just flying everywhere.
It's me.
The phones are screaming as it tears them apart.
It's been me this whole time, you guys.
So we've got quite a few emails to tear through this
Yes,
week.
we do. So we'll start off with the first one, because where else would you start? It says, hello, AP. Actually, it doesn't. It says, hi, AP. I've been following the post and podcast on Android N. I've always hated the way that Android handles persistent notifications. It unnecessarily takes up a slot on a status bar and consumes a line in the notification shade. How are persistent notifications handled or shown in N?
Oh, so they did change this a little bit for persistent notifications. Well, not persistent ones. No, I'm wrong. They just changed regular notifications. So isn't there a new status in the notification bar where a notification can be like, I'm invisible, and you'll only see me when you pull the notification bar down? Because I've noticed that.
I don't know. I mean, I think everything still has the icon in the status bar. I have not. I was just trying to produce a persistent.
So I haven't done anything with an ongoing, but I know for a fact that when apps update on Google Play, for example, they do not show an icon in the bar. You have to pull down to see the updated status.
They don't?
Unless nobody else is experiencing that
Maybe
behavior?
They don't have the bag with the check mark?
Okay, so what I will do is I'll show on screen right now, so my phone up there, so you can see it's actually updating an app right now. But no, it's not. So now it's empty. Pull down, and you've got a list of updated apps. It's so bright that it's not working. Hold on.
Weird.
Turn the screen.
Huh.
And now it's like my notifications are all gone. So there we go. So you can see it's updating it, got the updated apps, and flip up, and there's nothing there.
Interesting.
So I've noticed that on that, as well as there was something else I think I saw on. Oh, it's like the weather card. It's the same behavior the weather card in Google Now exhibits.
Yeah, but they're still. I mean,
Yeah.
they still exist in the shade. They're at the bottom like they were before, I believe.
That's interesting because I feel like they very deliberately said, like, we don't want notifications hiding in here without you knowing about it.
Persistent ones, I think, is what they wanted. And this isn't persistent, clearable. So
I see.
yeah, that's interesting if they're deciding to change that. And I don't know if that's open to developers or what the deal is. It's not something we spotlighted, but it's something I noticed at least. Maybe it's a bug. It could be just a bug. But I don't think there's anything we know that says persistent notifications are being handled differently.
Right.
There's
All
still
right, so
naughty persistent notifications.
All right, so our next email is from Raphael. It says, "Hey guys, I'm looking for a Play Music Chrome app extension that allows me to quickly look up the lyrics of the currently playing song. I asked Google, but it did not want to give me a helpful answer. So, anybody aware of a plugin or extension that does that for you?"
That sounds like a desktop question.
Does.
I have no idea.
Are we Chrome police now? Oh no. I mean, so did he said that he asked Google, like he searched on Google, I assume, because I just searched on Google and it seems like there are things that do this. Like there's something called lyrics for Google Chrome. Is
Oh, I
that
assumed that he had called Sundar.
yes? Called up his buddy Sundar and asked, just hey, real quick. Got a
Yeah,
question
this
for
is
you.
not something I'm familiar with because using Google Play Music in the browser is atrocious, so I don't really
Yeah.
do it.
Although, interestingly, Google Play Music has its own lyrics pages. I'm sure somebody could just write something that would pull up the lyrics page for the corresponding song.
All right, Raphael, so instructions, go write an app for it, and there you go.
And then you'll have an app.
All right,
We're
next
not
email
very
is from next email is from Thomas. He says, "In the Google Contacts app, there is a Me contact up top. Scrolling down the list of names, I have another contact for myself with my full name. Is there any way to eliminate the contact with my name and put it all under the Me contact?"
I was just looking at my phone, and I actually don't have the expanded version of me. The top one just says, like, the header is me, and it says Liam Spradlin, the name. So I think yes. I think you can delete that.
I'm looking on several different phones now to see. I think this depends a lot on like what phones you've used, because I think different phones put like different entries in your contacts.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
right.
generally don't touch that kind of stuff.
I don't have a Me contact at all. So I'm gonna go with don't mess with it, because you're gonna break something.
Yeah, that's how I feel about contacts. It's like voodoo. You just can't. I don't have a me either. So, yeah. Although I wonder if I type in me.
There was a time when you had
No,
to
it doesn't do anything.
to like create a contact
Oh,
named
okay.
Me to
Wait a
like
minute.
have your avatar show up in Google Apps.
Wait a minute. Do you see in the contacts app that there's ME at the very top in
Yeah.
Android for me?
I don't have that now.
I
Yeah.
see it in N.
I'm
I
looking
see
at
it
that
right
right
here.
now. I don't have that at all. And then I think what we've established here is that contacts are voodoo. In fact,
They are. I just don't touch it. Like if something's like, oh, that's a duplicate contact, don't touch it because you'll probably just break the entire thing. This is how I feel about contacts.
yeah,
It's like if a family member were to get a new phone and be like, "Can I transfer my contacts?" I'm like, "Listen,
I don't know.
we could ask Mount Vesuvius to erupt, but why would we? Just if they're not in Google already, screw it. All those people are dead to you now.
You don't
It's
need to
fine.
know those people.
They're gone.
All right, so our last email is from Dominic. It says, "Do you know if there is any way to view all of the apps you are beta testing through Google Play? When the feature first became available, I remember testing many beta apps, but now I can't remember which ones."
I don't think there's a way to do this, is there?
I don't believe so.
No, because I sure would like to know too. I have the same question because there are a ton of apps that I've joined the beta for, and it actually screws up sometimes when we have to write about something. Like there will be an app update, and I look and I'm like on some other version that is not what we need to write about, so I have to like find the APK inside it, and it's just a mess. But yeah, it would be really nice if there was just a landing page that listed all the
Boom.
plays.
Can you go to Google Plus and look at your communities?
Oh, but communities aren't required anymore.
They aren't required anymore.
Yeah.
They used to be. Damn.
It would be cool if the Play Store just like, well, I don't know how it would do that. Never mind. I was gonna say if it could just like badge the apps that are under beta on your launcher, but it can't do that because that's like an app asset.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
annoying.
you can look at your communities and you'll see older ones, like if that's your concern. But then if you just joined communities for apps to be in the communities, then you won't know if you joined it because you're in the beta or because you just wanted to be in the community.
Yeah, basically, you're at the mercy of developers to label things.
Yeah, that's so annoying. Yeah, I guess there isn't a way. I could have swore there was like some kind of like back route to do this that was like at least like manageable, where you could at least see which apps you were
You
in.
know, I mean, there totally might be, and we just don't know about it. So if anybody out there knows, they should just tell us.
Yeah. Tell us about. We may have even covered it. I'm trying to find it on AP, and I'm not really seeing anything. So yeah,
I mean,
that's a good question.
there's
But
probably a flag somewhere deep in your account that has all this data. There's got to be some way to reveal that.
yeah, well, not that we can find on the show today.
Yeah,
So
we've been supremely unhelpful this week. So
Have you guys tried asking Google?
let's email Dave Burke. He doesn't actually do
Yeah.
the Play Store, but let's email Dave Burke about it. See what he has
Yeah.
to say. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave. All right, so we do have a giveaway going on the site right now. It is from Android Police and NVIDIA, and it features a Shield Android TV with remote and a stand, and a free copy of Super Mega Baseball Extra Innings. So that is a 16 gigabyte NVIDIA Shield TV, so that's the one. So anyways, if you head on over to androidpolice.com/contest sometime between when you are hearing this and midnight on Monday, March 28th, you can get yourself entered to win that. So do that. You should. It's easy. It takes none of your time. Just do it. In the meantime, if you would like to send us any questions you have, any home screens you would like us to critique, or antiques, we can still take those. Antiques are good. You can email them to us at podcast@androidpolice.com. You can also call us at 530-HELLO-AP. That is 530-435-5627. You can also find us on Twitter at Android Police and on Google Plus and Facebook.
And once again, this week's Android Police podcast was brought to you by Linode. Check them out at linode.com/Android Police and get a free $20 credit for Linode service. Okay, recording stopped, and I'm just going to go ahead and stop the broadcast because we're already running long.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's the 200th